Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be talking about probably my favorite jig that I have ever fished in my entire life, and maybe the last one that I'll ever fish in my entire life. I've been loving this jig lately, and we're going to talk all about what makes it special, how to fish it. Hopefully we'll catch a couple fish along the way. It's an exciting bait I've talked about a couple times on the channel, and actually at the end of today's video I'm going to link a video about this jig showing you a completely different way to fish it than what we're going to do today, and show you how versatile it is. That's what we're going to be talking about with how versatile this jig is. And the other thing you can probably notice is we're on the boat again. So probably the best news that I've had in a long time. I've had so much stuff backed up, ideas that I've had that I've wanted to get out and film, and I literally couldn't do any of it because I didn't have a boat and I've been waiting on what's going on. So real fast, we're gonna run you through what actually happened with the boat. Just so if anybody's curious, if you don't care at all, just skip forward a little bit. We're gonna start talking about rod, gear, everything about what this jig is. But for now, real fast, we're gonna talk about the boat. My 520R that I had, I bought one of the first ones that ever were produced. And apparently they had a bunch of issues with it. So I fought with my boat for a while, working through the issues, trying to get that fixed. But it got to the point where I was just taking it to the shop too much. And you saw that throughout the channel this year. My channel has suffered a lot because of that. I wasn't able to keep up with videos, wasn't able to do what I wanted to do. I wasn't even able to finish my tournament season because of that. So Ranger and my boat dealer worked with me, and they actually got me a brand new one. This is a 2024. They replaced my boat under warranty and got me a new one and updated all the stuff that I was having issues with. So hopefully we're gonna be good to go. We're gonna have a boat now and be able to fish. That's gonna be the main goal here, is trying to catch a lot of fish and make a lot of videos. So what we got planned on the YouTube channel coming up here, we're gonna be doing a lot of smallmouth fishing here soon. Smallmouth are probably popping off right now. I can't even get to them, but next weekend we're going to be going smallmouth fishing. That's going to start that little series of it. We'll do a few weeks of smallmouth fishing, and then I'm potentially going to go to Lake Erie to try and catch a fish that's been on my bucket list for a while. I've never been able to catch one. We'll keep that one as a surprise, and then I'll be going to Florida at the end of December to try and batch film a bunch of content. Florida fishing, doing stuff down there so that we have stuff to carry us all through the winter and then into next spring. Next year, I'm not even fishing a single tournament. I may jump in a fun one, team tournament or something like that, but I'm not signing up for a series or anything next year. My only goal next year is to produce the most top quality, top tier content for you guys. I'm just gonna make YouTube videos the entire year, not gonna miss videos like I did this year, not gonna put out poor content like I did this year, just trying to keep up with the number of videos posted. We're gonna be only fishing every single weekend for YouTube and making a ton of awesome videos. So if you're interested in that, hit that subscribe button down below. My little rant is over about what's coming on the channel and what happened with the boat. Let's get to fishing this jig and hopefully catch a couple big ones. All right, so before we get to fishing here, let's talk about what this jig is, what makes it special, and the rod and reel setup we're gonna be using for today. Then we'll get out on the water and fish it. And like I said, there'll be a video linked at the end of today's video that will go to a time I used this jig in Florida, and I actually fished it as a swim jig rather than a flipping jig like we're gonna do today. And a different rod and reel setup. So that's what makes this jig special. This is the 6th Sense hybrid jig. I've talked about it a couple times on the channel, and it's a favorite of mine because of how versatile it is. So the head design on this is a triangular shaped head design, and what that does is it allows it to come through everything. So it has an inline line tie with the head, triangular shape leading up to it, so it will work through grass if you need it to. It will work through logs and rock like we're gonna do today. And the base of the head is very wide, so it actually works as a football jig as well, which we'll be doing that video next year in the summer, showing you that you can use this jig as a football jig as well, fishing offshore. So today's setup, we're actually gonna be using the 1/2 ounce hybrid jig. It comes in a 3/8, a 1/2 ounce, and a 3/4 ounce. So it allows you to cover all those different needs. 3/8 I usually use as a swim jig or a light flipping jig if I'm fishing like shallow docks, shallow wood, stuff like that. Today we're gonna be fishing in like 5 to 10 foot of water, a little bit deeper, and it's fall. Those fish are willing to chase a little bit more. So we're gonna go with the 1/2 ounce to get that down to the bottom. This could also work as a shallow water football jig. And then lastly, you have the 3/4 ounce, which would pretty much exclusively use for a football jig, or I'll actually use it for like pitching deep grass lines because it'll work in that instance as well. They all come with an awesome hook, and then the weed guards are usually already trimmed to fit. I trim mine like right to the barb on the hook, so I'll usually press mine down into the hook, and if it touches where the barb is, usually that's enough to cover your hook and keep you from getting hung up. And then color-wise, today we just have green pumpkin, black and blue color, but you can pretty much use any of the colors, whichever works best in your waterway. I know different colors work better in different areas of the country and stuff like that. For me, a lot of times it's going to be green pumpkin or black and blue. Those are the two colors that I'm going to use most of the time. I actually, like I said, we're fishing in the fall today, and I've done a lot of videos talking about like spinner baits and chatterbaits and crankbaits and all that stuff when those fish are really feeding on shad. And those are excellent baits in the fall, but I get a ton of questions on all those videos on what happens if your lake doesn't have shad. What if they only have bluegill or only have crawfish? Usually if a lake doesn't have shad or shiners, your other forage is going to be bluegills or crawfish as the main type of forage. So that's where this is probably my other favorite fall bait. If your lake doesn't have shad and stuff like that, I'll use a green pumpkin chatterbait, and then I'll use this guy right here. This is an excellent way to catch big fish in the fall. It's like I talked about in the last video, you're not going to catch numbers of fish with this bait usually. You're going to catch a couple good ones. So that's the way I like to fish in the fall. That's why I go with the jig. And then the trailer that I match this up with, I almost exclusively use this trailer. Depending on the time of year, I may use something else. But it skips excellent, it swims excellent, it works as a swim jig trailer, it works as a flipping jig trailer, and that's going to be the 6th Sense Bongo. It's basically just a little twin tail craw on the back here. It's a very flat profile, appendage free except for these 2 tails at the back end here. And they have little ribs to keep them swimming when they're going through the water. But because of how flat it is and how flat the skirt can be when you actually push it to the sides, it skips excellent. So that's what makes this jig so special. It can do a ton of different things. And then, like I said, the other video, I was fishing it on a 7-foot medium heavy rod, I think, with like 30-pound braid and swimming it through weeds down in Florida. This guy today, we're going to be doing some flipping, some heavier cover stuff. I have the Cashin Icon flipping rod here. This is my 7'3" fast heavy action. This is my jig rod. I only flip and pitch jigs with this thing. I may flip like a heavy Texas rig, but like this is exclusively my jig rod. I flip and jigs constantly. That's pretty much all I use this rod for. Super stout backbone, has a soft tip so you can feel what you're doing down there. I have it paired up with a Corrado MGL. I pretty much run all Corrado MGLs on my rods. And then I have straight 20-pound test fluorocarbon on today, fishing around heavier wood and rock. I want to set the hook and have all that abrasion resistance to get those fish out of that cover and coming towards the boat. So that's the setup. It's really basic, just a basic flipping jig setup. More importantly is the jig here and how versatile it can be over some of the other jigs on the market. So let's get on the front deck, get to fishing, and see if we can catch a couple fish. All right, so now that we talked about the gear with this jig, let's go ahead and fish this thing around. It is fall, but we did a spinnerbait video already today, and it was like a pain to do. So these fish are definitely in a weird mood today. So I don't know how this jig fishing video is gonna go. Ideally, if they're not gonna bite the spinnerbait, they should bite the jig really well. So hopefully that's what is assigned to come here. All I'm gonna do today, the way we're gonna fish the jig, we're gonna be pitching it at laydowns and very high percentage targets that these fish are gonna live on this time of year, basically setting up for winter. Because winter's right around the corner here in Pennsylvania, and we're fishing a largemouth fishery. So these fish, while smallmouth are going to get really hot here in the next couple weeks, largemouth are probably going to slow down just a little bit because they don't like the water as cold as smallmouth do. So that being said, we're going to look for areas close to where they're going to winter, which is something like this, a big bluff bank with some wood on it. What we're going to be doing, skipping the jig underneath some pine trees in a little bit here as we work our way down this bank. That is very effective. This jig skips really, really well. It has that triangular shaped head, and if you put this bongo trailer on it, that whole flat presentation skips just like a rock. But even if I'm not skipping it, I can just roll cast or underhand pitch my bait into different areas where I think the fish are going to be. And there's a lot of rock on this bank, like big shelf rock and stuff like that. And this jig works excellent in rocks. Just because of that triangular shaped head, it doesn't wedge in as easily, even on wood. So all I'm gonna do is just gently drag this thing through the pieces of wood and the rock and stuff like that that's down on the bottom down there. I know there's a big tree right here that we're gonna see if we can get one off of, but that's all we're gonna do. We're just gonna work really slowly and try and put this thing in front of a fish that maybe might not want to eat, but we're gonna force them into biting just because we're gonna put a big presentation in front of them as they're trying to feed up for winter, and they're not gonna be able to resist it. Like I said, spinnerbait bite was off, so if that's off, we might just have to force a couple to bite. I don't know how many we're gonna catch. We might catch one, we might catch 0, we might catch a bunch. Ideally though, with this jig, we're gonna get some big ones. So that's what we're really looking for, trying to catch the biggest fish we can out of the lake during fall, just fishing for some trophy fish. So let's see what we can do. There we go. He's tiny, but we finally got one. Flipping up underneath one of these bushes here. We're gonna throw him back. We're gonna see if we can get us a bigger one. All I was doing was just gently pitching it in these little bushes and stuff. So like there was a big mat of leaves right there. I let that sink down. I'm sitting in 13 feet of water and I saw it sink for like 2 seconds and stopped, and I have a 1/2 ounce jig on. So I pretty much knew immediately that one had picked it up. That's when I lifted up and felt him there and then gave him a good hook set. But unfortunately, not the size we're looking for, but we'll keep on fishing. See if we can get us a bigger one. Nice part about this jig, it literally catches all sizes. I swear I can catch anything on this jig. It's like a confidence bait to me when the fish aren't biting, no matter where I'm fishing. I've used it as a swim jig. I've skipped docks with it. I've done all various types of techniques with this jig that when I need a bite, this is usually something that I have tied on and I'm ready to roll with. So that's why it's become such a favorite to me, even though that wasn't a giant. Maybe the next one will be big. They've been being tough today. They've been really making me work for it. First day back on the boat, and they're already making me work for it. So I'm ready to go smallmouth fishing, that's for sure. But I didn't have enough time to do that today because I literally picked this up from the dealership this morning and drove straight to the lake. So I didn't get on the lake until like 1 o'clock, and it gets dark at 6. So didn't really have time to go drive 2 hours to my smallmouth spot or anything like that. So we'll do that next week, but let's get back to fishing, see if we can catch us a big one on this jig. That right there is exactly why I like this jig so much. Just underhand whipped it right under that tree, skip, skip, skip right underneath there. And then I can actually work it in the tree, doesn't get hung up, skips really well, bring that out, nothing in there. And then if I wanted to like pitch to one of these limbs in the front, I can just throw it over there, let that sink down again. Nobody home. And then I can go and actually cast the jig up underneath the tree just like that. It just makes it so you can literally do anything with this jig, fish it all different types of ways, different types of cover, do anything you need. So that's why I like it so much, and hopefully we can get us one more. I'm ready. We're running out of daylight, but if we can get one more fish, that would be the ideal scenario to finish off the day after I get this backlash out. Well, unfortunately, it is starting to rain and we're about out of daylight, so that's gonna do it for today's video. We were not able to get another bite. Bass fishing has been brutally tough, apparently. This is my first time out in like probably 2 months. I mean, I've been not really fishing much at all, but it's been brutally tough on me today. I will get back in the groove here soon, so stay tuned, stick with me. They're gonna get better from here. We're gonna be doing some smallmouth fishing. I can't wait, that's gonna be exciting. They're gonna be chewing when I can get up there and start doing some smallmouth fishing. If you want to see this video in action, this jig in action down in Florida, check this video out right here. Hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss any of my fishing videos coming up. Thanks for watching.